Next on AM 1480 WLEA, the Newsmaker Show. Here's Brian O'Neill.
It's the moment that all the Alfred kids wait for to listen to in their dorms at the university.
They don't get radios in their dorms, Brian.
Well, they could listen online at WLEA.net.
There you go.
Since we last spoke, this is kind of interesting. Rochester voted Tuesday night for a police accountability board. I had Sheriff Jim Allard from Bath come in. He talked a little bit about that. He was, I was kind of interested in his answer. He said, on the one hand, law enforcement very much needs to be in touch with the community, and civilian input is appreciated. But he said, on the other hand, will the people on this panel be able to understand all the intricacies of what goes into an arrest? My thoughts are they're just going to be anti-cop activists who always discipline the police to the extreme amount. Your thoughts?
Well, it's hard to tell. I don't know how it's set up or about to be structured, but my understanding is that the police unions didn't put a whole lot of effort into this particular vote because they're convinced that it's against the law. And so they're prepared to challenge this in court, and they think the courts will throw this out. I think it has something to do with the police contract, and then I think there's some other areas where it goes beyond state law in some areas. So I don't think it. The feeling is that the courts will find this to be ultra-virus or beyond the scope of New York state law. So we'll wait and see on that. But I think you are right. We're talking about a heavily, I would guess, a pretty heavy inner city vote there, led by some activists who think this is a shot at, keeping the police under control, or maybe more than that. As you know, in some areas of the country, for example, New York City, the cops have been disrespected pretty much at will these days.
With water buckets.
And eggs and all kinds of things, and that's outrageous. So we don't want to make this part of that effort. And I think the people of Rochester got more sense in that, too. But at any rate, I think that's the direction that's going to go up there.
Adam Bello, can I ask you about that? Governor Cuomo's candidate, Adam Bello, won the county executive's race.
Yes. Well, again, the police were pretty key in that race. Miss Dorley, who took on $1 million effort by George Soros, won handily for the district attorney's race. But Miss D'Onofrio, the criticisms obviously are easy to come by in this situation, but apparently 2 or 3 weeks before the election, she cut back the pension benefits for retired police officers. Now, the timing on that, to put it mildly, is just strange. And so the police unions came out against her really heavily in the election, and that, I'm sure, cost her the election. And that's a loss. There's no two ways about that for the Republicans. And with the state Senate races coming up next year, people like Funky and some of those other Republicans up there could well find themselves in serious, serious trouble.
Hey, Don, can we go back to the DA's race for a moment?
Well, sure.
Okay, it's kind of interesting, and I followed this one on Tuesday night. It was a Democrat, Shawnee Curry Mitchell, who was running
against Dorley.
Gained the support of one of the George Soros groups, as you mentioned, and there was a lot of TV commercials. You had mentioned to me, I think on the phone off the air Tuesday night, that you sort of sensed that the Rochester community, even though they're heavily Democrat, kind of didn't like Soros getting...
Yes, I think that's correct. And the negative ads that they were running, the Soros people were running, were pretty nasty. And I think that hurt D'Onofrio, too. Apparently she went negative very early in the campaign. and those, in neither case did those play particularly well. Now, following up on the Soros thing, according to the national news, Soros poured money into a couple of races down in Fairfax County, and his people won down there.
You talking Virginia?
Yeah, Fairfax. Yeah, right. Fairfax County, Virginia.
They got all the major seats, the Dems in Virginia, right?
Well, I'm talking about the district attorney's seat there in Fairfax County. Clearly, the Soros people are aiming at the criminal justice system. So they've won the DA's place in Philadelphia, and now they got one in Fairfax County, and I think they have a number of others that they've picked up. So I think you see a movement here that's it's going to be not at all constructive for the country, frankly. But in any case, yeah, that's the situation. And now in Monroe County, the two Supreme Court judges, the two Republicans, Matthew Rosenbaum, won handily.
And Kevin Naska?
And Naska barely eked out a win over, I think, what's her name, Vaquera?
Meredith Vach, I believe.
Vach, all right. Who I think was a decent candidate, but I think Mr. Naska was able to ride Matt Rosenbaum's coattails there to win that one. So there the Republicans had a pretty good show. And in Livingston County, for county court judge, the Republicans won both the seats there. Now, again, back in Monroe County, the Republicans lost both the county court seats there, and the one, this fellow, Mr. DeMarco, had been in there for quite a while. People kind of thought he was automatic, but he was beaten by the Democrats. So they took both those county court spots. So it's kind of a mixed bag. But in total, I think for the Republicans, it's not a good thing. And again, the Democrats held on to the county executive seat in Erie County, so that Governor Cuomo now has Monroe County and Erie County and probably Albany County. He does not have, however, Syracuse. In Onondaga County, the Republican won, and they carried, not only that, they carried the DA's race and the county clerk in Onondaga County. So that's kind of interesting in Syracuse. A lot of this, frankly, Brian, depends on how well the parties are organized in these areas. And if you've got a weak organization, the other side's going to take advantage of you.
What makes a strong organization?
Well, leadership, first and foremost, and then the ability to get a candidate who can present himself or herself well, and then basically somebody who knows how to run a campaign. Now, again, in these areas, in terms of a strong organization, it's very important that the town committees and such are active, holding events, raising money, going door to door. I mean, you got that sort of thing going in a town and a county. It definitely pays off in when it comes election time.
Any thoughts on Kentucky or Mississippi?
Yeah, well, I in terms of candidates, I think Kentucky was a disaster, and of course that race is not decided yet. Finally, but nobody seems to feel that Bevins is going to. I think he's down. The governor for governor there is down about 5,000 votes, and people were going on about how the suburban vote, etc., was going Democrat, etc. But I think basically the problem in Kentucky was that Bevins is a jerk. And really a very unpleasant guy. And
callers have been calling into the talk shows from Bevins' district, have been calling into the different talk shows saying what you just said.
Yeah. And apparently he was something like 30 points behind a few weeks before the election, and Trump came in there, and they brought in some other people to push for him. So they pulled it up and pulled it close, but you got to have a candidate there, and the guy, who keeps shooting himself in the foot, just wasn't going to be able to do it. So generally speaking, the evaluations I've seen of Kentucky is that nobody thinks that Trump was going to lose Kentucky, that it remains a solidly conservative state. It's just that this was kind of an aberration. Now, but there are some other areas, that are of concern to the Republicans. Obviously, the governor won in Mississippi, the Republican, but in Virginia, they lost pretty much everything the Republicans did, and so now in Virginia you have a Democrat governor and Democrat control of the Assembly and the Senate, and I think it's called the House of Delegates in Virginia. But in any case, they've got complete control, and with the census coming in 2020, they will be redrawing all the district lines, so the Republicans are going to be in trouble there for a long time. And the problem there is, for the Republicans, is that the northern counties and legislative districts bordering Washington, D.C. are, they're grown in population, and a huge percentage of those people work for the government. And obviously they're not going to be at all sympathetic to a lot of what Trump has done. So I don't know, I think that's kind of by the boards there for the Republicans. The one concern, and the Republicans did pick up a couple state seats, legislative seats in New Jersey. Although, again, the Democrats control the state legislature, the Republicans made a few gains there. But the area of real concern is Pennsylvania, where the Republicans lost Delaware County and lost a couple of other counties there that are pretty important. And somehow they're going to have to become a little more attractive to some of these suburban voters. And Trump can do that. I don't think there's any question about that. The one advantage Trump has, he's the incumbent. And so, for example, like moving the embassy to Jerusalem, he can go ahead and do it. The pulling troops out of Syria, he can go ahead and do it. And trade deals with China, he can go a long way there. So there are a lot of things that he can do yet that I think can be attractive to some of the suburban housewives, etc., and show again that he can support some of the things that are the so-called middle-class suburbanites are interested in. So he's got some opportunities there, and I think he's smart enough to take advantage of those. But so it was a mixed night, but not a good night for the Republicans. I don't think there's any question about that.
Dr. Bob, former national security advisor to President Trump, John Bolton, and this is another nothing burger. The liberal media was drooling at the idea of John Bolton coming in, and the Drudge Report said that Bolton was going up against Trump by doing this, defying the White House, and then Bolton pulls a no-show.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to defy the White House. I mean, I think he and Trump disagree on some things, but I think they also agree on a lot of other things. And I just don't see John Bolton pulling some of this. Now, here's one aspect of these hearings that we should touch on here, Brian, and that is our viewers should be aware that anything a congressman says in Congress is immune from suit. They can say anything they want. They can lie. They can make up things. Not that they would do that.
Like Adam Schiff, you mean?
Well, like some others as well. And they are constitutionally immune from suit. Now, the question I have, and I haven't looked into this, is whether people testifying before Congress are also immune from suit. And I'm thinking maybe they are. In which case, if I'm Bolton or anybody else, I would wait till I'm called before the public hearings and testify in that respect. Now, they are under oath, so I don't know if perjury comes into play there or not. I'd have to go back and look at that. But certainly a congressman or a senator, anything they say in Congress is immune from suit. Now, if they are saying things outside Congress, they can definitely be sued, but not in Congress. So keep that in mind when these hearings start buzzing along here.
Mark Zaid, the Whistleblowers lawyer, somebody went back and found old tweets from a couple of years ago. Can I go over that with you?
I don't want to spend too much time on it. I want to talk about Mr. Amy Robach a little bit here.
Yeah, I do too. Let's do this quickly because everybody else has covered it. Mark Zaid, the whistleblower's attorney's tweets. The coup from January 30th, 2017. The coup has started. First of many steps. Rebellion, impeachment will follow ultimately. And when one falls, two will take their place. Now, Zaid said on Thursday that a lot of people felt this way at the time, and he was talking about a lawful process because Trump stepped over the line. But one thing that was interesting, he said CNN will also play a big part in the coup.
No, that's a surprise. Yeah. Well, I can't say too much more about that, but it only confirms kind of what everybody thinks, and probably what is, frankly. Yeah.
Okay, the whole ABC thing, ABC covering up for Epstein, an enormously damaging video surfaced of on ABC. Is this what you want to talk about?
Yeah, Amy Robach's her name, right?
And
this Veritas at work again?
That was
Jim O'Keefe?
Project Veritas.
Yes, Mr. O'Keefe. I just want to note that Mr. O'Keefe's father, I think, is a ceramic engineer from a fairly prestigious school in Western New York.
Oh.
Yeah, so a little connection there, maybe.
Interesting.
Yeah. That audio there, or that video, I mean, that's damning, isn't it? You've listened to it. I mean, Fox played it, I think, on every program they had there Wednesday night or Tuesday night. And the point, I guess, the reason we mention it is we've already said this thing maybe 2 months ago. I think we said on the show that once Epstein was in jail that he would never get out alive. And she certainly seems to think pretty clearly that, he was, well, she says, she believes he was killed. But I think there are a lot of things interesting about the statement there. One, that she says that the monarchy in Great Britain put all kinds of pressure on ABC to kill the story with Prince Andrew. So there's apparently they had pictures of Prince Andrew with some of these underage women, in addition to, airplane manifests with Clinton and some of these other people on it. Now, the other thing I think we want to look at there and keep an eye on is that Epstein had a girlfriend or a partner who worked with him very closely for quite a number of years, who I think was from New York City, and I've seen pictures of him and her together, and she's just sort of dropped out of sight. And I think, frankly, she was, she was working for him.
She was a recruiter, according to these women who used to be
right,
little 11-year-old girls. She was a recruiter and helped with the blackmail.
Right. Well, I guess that's the point. I haven't followed up on that, but the question, Brian, is where is she? I mean, if I were she, I'd be making a pretty low profile. And I think last I saw, she was out of the country. I think I saw she was in South America somewhere, but I'm not sure. But if I'm the Department of Justice, I want to talk to that woman, and maybe some of these other guys would like to get a hold of her too. I think you got two things here going. One, was in fact Epstein murdered? And two, how many people were involved in this criminal, illegal activity that he was conducting? And of course, that's an ongoing investigation. I mean, they can check with the pilots. It's like Amy Robach says in this video. There's all kinds of, and apparently she had quite a few files.
3 years ago.
Yeah, I would guess the Justice Department will be talking to her too.
Jesse Waters of Fox News came on one of the Fox shows, and he said, ABC was ruthless against Brett Kavanaugh, the Supreme Court justice, when there was no evidence, but easy on Epstein when there was all total evidence.
Wonder why that was, Brian.
Jesse Waters says because of the 2016 election with Hillary.
Yeah, it could be. But I don't get much out of these sort of comparisons of what if Obama had done this or what if Clinton's in that. Right. I mean, who cares? We're concerned with what is being done now and how this plays. So, at any rate, those are some thoughts, and I just hope they keep after this Epstein thing because I think it's really pretty filthy goings-on by some people.
Hillary Clinton, by the way, says Medicare for all. She's referring to Elizabeth Warren. Medicare for all, Hillary says, is not going to resonate with voters.
Well, I think Hillary's got a real good sense of what the voters feel and think. Yeah. But she won't go away, will she?
No, and I think that some Democrats want her to.
Oh, I think without question. Again, this is still up in the air. I was talking to a Democrat, well, not a Democrat, a Republican who votes Democrat quite a bit the other day, and the point this person was making is, I don't like Trump. I didn't vote for Trump, but who else is there? Could you give me somebody else out there that, I could vote for that is halfway reasonable? And I just think the Democrats are coming up a little short there so far.
Hillary Clinton, every time she's in an appearance, does one of those poor me things.
Oh?
Yeah, the election was stolen from her, and she's a wronged woman, and blah,
how
blah,
was the
blah.
How was the election stolen from her, Brian?
Well, that's what she says.
Well, I think the electoral vote was pretty clear. I mean, it's true she had more popular votes, but it's the Electoral College. I think I saw her the other day saying on TV that you got to remember it's the Electoral College that counts. Yeah, right, Hillary. Yeah, we got.
How much? I know that Hillary actually in her U.S. Senate job was pretty good to Hornell, but Hornell voted for Bernie with most of the Democrats. Wondering there, you get a sense of how the rest of the country feels if she's the one that the Democrats try to bring back.
I think that'd be a disaster. Yeah. No, that would.
I would think the Dems would be out to win in 2020.
Well, I think they are. Yeah, they'd like very much to win that spot. I mean, but again, they have to come out. They've got to find a candidate, and I don't know when Governor Cuomo is going to step forward, Brian. I mean, I just don't know.
Almost out of time, Doc. Congressman Jim Jordan says GOP lawmakers want to subpoena the whistleblowers. Now, many in the media have been annoyingly overprotective of the whistleblower, including Brett Baier. What do you make of this whole the idea of the whistleblower stepping forward? And do you think it's a whistleblower or a leaker?
I think it's a leaker. The whistleblower statute doesn't apply to this person at all. But I think that's incredible, the idea that this person shouldn't have to face the other side. I mean, what do you do? Just let people make even in the Kavanaugh case, they brought this woman who was some party that nobody else remembers. And so where's it? No, this whistleblower has to step forward. I mean, the whole idea is sort of set off by this so-called whistleblower. And the idea that you're going to go ahead and impeach somebody based upon secondhand testimony that nobody has a chance to question. I mean.
By the way, Senator Rand Paul says that the Democrats in Washington don't want the president to have the basic rights that are in the Bill of Rights, such as the right to confront the accuser, like you just mentioned.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. No, I think at this point, the Democrat, the one point here that, again, I think is mentioned here and there is, here you have all these liberal Democrats spending all their time on this half-baked impeachment process, and government is totally shut down, basically, so that Trump is continuing to do away with agency regulations and limiting agency efforts, and all these things that the Democrats would like to enact are all put on hold, and Trump is just buzzing along here, totally ignoring them. So here, I mean, they're just basically totally short-sighted in this kind of situation, it seems to me. The whole impeachment thing is working to the advantage of people like Facebook and the e-cigarette people and all these other groups that, frankly, probably need some regulation. And nothing is happening.
I had one other question, and I'm going over time, but the whistleblower contradicting the transcript of the Trump phone call with the Ukraine, the left is arguing that's because of White House editing of the transcript. Those on the right are saying the little editing that happened did not change the meaning of anything. It was just a ... ellipsis type stuff.
Just a few things here and there. I don't know what this guy, what's his name, Vintner or Vintman or whatever his name is.
Vindman, if you're talking about the...
Frankly, I don't see there's anything there at all. And even the New York Times said, look, this doesn't change the basic point that Trump was making. Yeah. So it's a strange world out there, Brian. I hope it doesn't get stranger by next week. I mean...
And we will see you next week, Tom.
All right, I hope so.
Gone over time.